What's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Mike, and I'm a physical therapist providing tips on how to build strength and longevity with your body. Now, when it comes to rehab, one of the most common things my patients will tell me is, I didn't get a chance to do my exercises, or I didn't get a chance to work on those stretches that you taught me. And sometimes I wonder why it's so difficult for patients to follow through with exercises, and I began to learn that over time, there's a few reasons why I believe people have a hard time sticking with the program or sticking with the mobility drills that we're recommending. And the number one thing is lack of time, right? Some people think that it just takes too long to stretch, or they need to spend 20 minutes in order to see real change with mobility or stretching drills. And that's false. You can really see a lot of change in as little as 15 to 20 seconds. What really matters is about the consistency and how often you're working on the exercises. The other reason why I find that people struggle to follow through with those mobility drills or those stretches is simply because it's difficult, it's challenging. They have a hard time getting in these positions. So I'm hoping that I can show you guys some 3 game-changing mobility drills that you can use for the hips specifically, that you can really do anywhere, that require minimal equipment. And the goal after this video is really to give you guys some new tools to use to help create more exposure. And what do I mean by exposure? That means simply that you're starting to expose your hip through greater range of motion. You're getting into positions that you don't normally get into that will help expose any stiffness or tightness that you have in the joints. So let's go ahead and get into one of my favorite ones, and that's a 90-90 stretch. Now let me explain why. Most of us are probably familiar with the pigeon stretch, right? And this is simply when we have one leg folded out in front of us and the opposite is behind us. And I often find that with my folks, with that particular exercise, we're having to elevate their front leg up on something higher, because getting on the ground and getting in this position is extremely tough, especially if you're someone that is sitting a lot, because we know those rotators in the back of the hip get very stiff, and this position here is extremely difficult. So how can we give someone a modification or maybe a regression down where they can actually feel confident in this position? And that is the 90-90. So with this 90-90, I love this because this exposes us to some external rotation of the hip, which is what we work on with that pigeon stretch. But most importantly, it also gives me some internal rotation on the opposite hip. When I'm working on this, I'll like to kind of cycle through a couple of reps on each side, getting comfortable with just checking in with myself, seeing, am I holding more stiffness or tightness on one side more than the other? Do I find it hard to really sit up as tall as I can? If you are struggling there, it just tells you just need to spend a little bit more time there. So I'll cycle through this from left to right. And as I'm working on this, I'm really focusing on trying to get this knee and this hip at about 90 degrees. So like a perfect right angle. Same with this leg as well. It's not perfect, guys, but you're gonna see that this is gonna start to challenge you in ways that you haven't been challenged before. Now, with this particular exercise too, if you wanna focus on biasing that internal rotation, right here is a great way that we can take that opposite hand and just provide a gentle overpressure to the hip. We call that a hip mobilization, which is something easily that you can do to yourself by taking that hand and just gently applying a downward force on that hip or the femur to create a little bit more stretch and get better results with this particular exercise. So that's number one when it comes to the first mobility drill that I think is very impactful and game-changing for you. The second one that we can get into is an adductor rock. So we've seen many of the stretches work on this rock where we're on our knees and we're going side to side, but I like to really extend that leg to the outside, because that's really going to lengthen those adductors. And you can choose whether you want the foot downward or whether you want the foot facing upward. It's going to feel a little bit different, but you're still supported with your hands and you're doing the same thing. You're rocking forward and you're rocking backward, and you're going to see that's going to really start to open up that hip, and it's going to be very important that you also work on the other side as well. You're going to see with this one in particular, this is going to open up the adductors, which can be very helpful if you're someone that's just trying to improve squatting down to the ground. So that's a great one. Now the last one, I think, which has very little barriers and resistance, especially if you're someone that is new to stretching or you want to start adding in some stretching and you don't want to challenge yourself too much, you want to ease into it. This is a great position to be in, right? Because not only am I on the knee here, but I'm exposing this inside of the hip as well, just like we did with the last stretch. The best part about it is all I have to do is place my forearm over the knee, and as little as shifting to that right foot is going to give me a good stretch, not only on the inside, but also here as well. This can literally be something that I set up with or do simply at home if I'm on my computer, I'm typing at a desk, or I'm on the floor, if I'm watching TV. It doesn't have to be this long 20-minute sessions where you set up a mat and you really have to get through all these different sorts of stretches to really see good results. It's about exposing yourself to new positions and figuring out a way on how you can implement it on just the day-to-day task, like watching TV, like working on some things at your laptop, like sitting down, playing with your kids. It's a great way to just sprinkle in a little bit of mobility on a regular basis. Now, if there is a specific mobility drill that you love, and please share with me below on which exercise you find effective. In the meantime, if you want to support this channel, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up with this video and subscribe below.